Hello everyone, welcome to the basic concepts of object-oriented programming playlist in C++. So today we will discuss about a new topic which is destructor. In our previous video we saw what a constructor is. Now destructor is something like opposite of constructor. Destructor is a member function which is automatically invoked when an object of a class is destroyed. Means when an object goes out of the scope. And you know that when the constructor is called when an object is created. So it's like the opposite of destructor. So destructor's name is preceded by the tilde symbol, and a class can have only one destructor. So now let's understand this concept with an example. In this example I have written a code, very simple code of a class where in the public domain we have an integer x and a method which is display. To display the integer n, we have assigned the value of n in the integer x, and now we have displayed the integer. So this is the destructor part. And as I told you that destructor's name is preceded by the tilde symbol. So here you can see this is the syntax of declaring a destructor, and in this destructor the statement is a destructor called with value, and the value which we pass in the parameter of display function. Now let's understand the flow of this program. In the main function I have created two objects which are obj1 and obj2, and I have called the method display two times by two objects with the parameters of 1 and 2. So as expected, the one displayed and two displayed, these are the two statements printed for this method display. So up to this is very clear. But after this, if you see the terminal, destructor called with value 2, but we called the display function with value 1 at first. But in the output section, in the first statement is with the last input was 2, and here destructor called with value 2. Why? Okay, so in the main function, after the execution of this line, here in the return 0, the object goes out of scope. And when the object goes out of scope, here the scope is the main function. We can see the curly braces of this object. In these curly braces the objects are declared. So the scope of these two objects are the main function, and return 0 means going out of the main function. So these two objects go out of the scope, and when the object goes out of the scope, the destructor is called automatically. But here the destructor is called in LIFO principle, means last in first out. So last in first out. And you know about the FIFO concept, but this LIFO concept may be new. So destructor works in the LIFO concept. Now last in, which was the last, here the 2 was last. So 2 was last in, and so 2 will be out first. So 2 destructor called with value 2. Okay, so in this destructor, the destructor called with the value 2 at first, and then the destructor will be called with the input 1. So destructor called with value 1. If we work with more objects, okay, so a object 3 and object 3 dot display 3. So if we run this program, 3 at first will be printed because 3 is the last, then 2, then 1. Okay, so display function will work according to the flow, according to the normal flow of the program, 1, 2, 3 displayed. But the destructor will work in the reverse order. So destructor call with value 3, 2, 1. Okay, Now we will see how the constructor and destructor both work in a program. So for this, I have slightly modified the previous program. Here I have declared a constructor A and the destructor tilde A. So the constructor, in the constructor has printed the statement that constructor called with the value x. X means the parameter which is passed through this constructor. And in the destructor, similarly, destructor called with the value of x. And in the main function, I have declared three objects of class A and called the constructor with the values of 1, 2, and 3. So this is very similar to the previous program. And if we run the program in the terminal, you can see that at first constructor called with value 1, then 2, then 3, and then in the reverse order, destructor called with value 3, destructor called with value 2, and destructor called with value 1. So similarly, the object goes out of the scope and destructor is called in the LIFO principle. So as 3 is in the last, so 3 will be called in the destructor at first. Okay, so now we can say that invocation time of destructor is reverse of that of the constructor, because in the constructor the order is the normal flow of the program, but in the destructor the order is the reverse of that of the constructor. So I hope you understood today's lesson. Thank you.